Hi everyone. Now at the brink of military escalation in the Middle East, I wanted to go back to the bilateral meeting on September 13th between the US and UK, when Keir Starmer, or to be precise, Sir Keir Starmer, and part of his cabinet flew to the US to visit Biden and his cabinet in the White House, in the Blue Room. The worry was that they would allow missiles to be fired into Russia, although officially no such permission was given. Unclear is what the point was of that meeting, besides blowing out a lot of CO2. Here I wanted to look at their body language to get a sense of what is going on and where we are currently, broadly speaking.
I say you be quiet till I speak, okay?
So they were all joking around, and now Keir Starmer looks very insecure all of a sudden. His smile is frozen.
That's what I say. Good idea?
Well, what do you say to Vladimir Putin's threat of war, sir? It's a
Well,
serious threat.
you gotta be quiet. I'm gonna make a statement here, okay? All right, anyway.
So here we see Biden with a very angry tone. Apparently no questions are wanted when planning World War III. These few seconds show the whole state of Western democracies.
Mr. Prime Minister, welcome. Welcome back to the White House. Often said, there's no issue of global consequence where the United States and Great Britain can't work together, haven't worked together. And we're going to discuss some of these things right now. First, Ukraine. I want to thank you for the UK's leadership in this.
He's stuttering, so we have a display of his state of mind, his cognitive abilities right at the start. He's just reading of this little statement.
The United States is committed to standing with you to help Ukraine as it defends against Russia's onslaught and aggression. Clear that Putin will not make it clear Putin will not prevail in this war, and the people of Ukraine will prevail. Second, the Middle East. Today we'll discuss our work to secure a deal in the Middle East to release the remaining hostages that are being held by Hamas, bring an immediate ceasefire, increase the flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza. And thirdly, we're going to be talking about the Indo-Pacific. No reason more important, our future. And I'm so proud that under our AUKUS partnership with Australia and with Australia, the last 3 years we've made the region more free, open, and secure. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you again for being here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Mr. President, thank you very much for those words. Thank you for the invitation to be back here just 2 months after our last meeting.
Interesting already looking at the cabinet members. I don't know who most of these are. Here I'm not sure about what the gender is. It's either a man or woman or a combination. Here we can see already she has some alcohol or prescription drug problems that we can see from the skin, how it's bloated. In here we see David Lammy, Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs.
Yeah, and it's really important as great allies, that special relationship, to have this time to talk about the global issues you have just identified.
And these two brown noses already taking notes, because it's so important what is being spoken currently.
Starting, of course, with Ukraine, where I think the next few weeks and months could be crucial, very crucial, very, very important that we support Ukraine.
She's already spacing out. No surprise. And Lammy keeps smiling and nodding. Shoulder to shoulder with Keir Starmer's PM, closing ranks.
Very, very important that we support Ukraine in this vital war of freedom.
Vital war of freedom, he's shaking his head. So his verbal expressions, his speech is incongruent to what his body says. Generally we trust this more, and the body says no.
What do you say to Vladimir Putin's threat of war, Mr. President?
I don't think much about Vladimir Putin.
So again, Biden stuttering. We see his cognitive abilities in action.
Do you take that threat seriously?
She thinks it's funny. Keir Starmer's smile is now frozen. We can see thin lips. And the eyes are squinting, so here's actually anger now, masked by a smile. And this guy looks down shyly, writing. And I'm guessing he has a contempt smile, an asymmetric smile, feeling morally superior. He just ignores the media and all the fuss. He is too important. He has this typical frozen, spaced out look, typical for a senile person, unless he has a seizure at this moment. Here, contempt smile, asymmetric, and the eyes are partially closed, feeling completely superior, and he looks surprised with the eyebrows lifted up. And his surprise is frozen. So we see the same scenario now from a slightly different angle. And it starts again with Biden saying, "Quiet now."
You gotta be quiet, I'm gonna make a statement. All right, anyway, Mr. Prime Minister, welcome. Welcome.
We're just going to the end.
In this vital war of freedom.
So vital war on freedom. Here we see the spaced out face here. Here's a stretched out hands, a frozen handshake. So we can see better the wrinkles at the corners of the eyes. So he's smiling. I'm guessing it's a contempt smile, as I already mentioned. And here we see the anger smile, the masking smile. And we see quite nicely, he completely blocks out the media, just looks down, ignores them. And her, she just doesn't look even at the media. It's too much for her. It's too invasive. She feels safer with the pack. She just turns to the pack. She just dared to roll her eyes towards the media, but she didn't dare to fully turn or even turn her head. It's too much. Too close to the media. They are now getting really annoyed. Still frozen smile, both of them, but sending glares at the media in annoyance. And as they turn a little bit more, she allows herself to also open up a tiny bit more. And now she was shaking her head in disbelief of what is going on. Too intrusive, too much. They just want to be left alone so they can discuss the missiles and what to send and not, and so on. So now back in England, we see Lammy and Starmer talking to the press about the trip.
A productive discussion on a number of fronts, including Ukraine, as you'd expect, the Middle East and in the Pacific. Talking strategically about tactical decisions. This isn't about... Well, we've had a long and productive discussion on a number of...
Long and productive discussion. He looks away. David Lammy. It's an interesting character here right now. So he is shoulder to shoulder, so closing ranks, a little bit behind the Prime Minister. And he has interesting facial expressions. So he seems very preoccupied. His eyes are darting around. He looks a bit upset, like he has an inner monologue going on. He looks absent-minded, sometimes he nods. He looks nervous, sometimes he has smiles. It's a roller coaster of inner monologue and emotions he seems to have. That might also give him an impression of total incompetence and not being up for it.
Including Ukraine, as you'd expect, the Middle East and the Pacific, talking strategically about tactical decisions. This isn't about a particular...
It's interesting. He talks about the strategy and how important the meeting was. It seems that these are the talking points the PR agency gave him. He keeps reiterating the same points, the same phrases, actually 3 times. So apparently that was given to him, that's basically what he's selling. And he has a very frozen look. He has a very low blinking rate. And here's the idea is that one does it to see if the BS is basically working, if the interviewer is buying the lies. This typical mannerism of a con man. Lie detection 101.
Decision that we'll obviously pick up again in Unger in just...
So he just randomly starts nodding, his eyes darting around, he has some strong emotions it looked like.
A few days' time with a wider group of individuals, but this was a really important invitation from the President to have this level of discussion about those critical issues.
So it seems also there's some disgust here. It's like when you smell something bad, your nostrils start closing. In the extreme case, it's also used under extreme aggression during the limbic fight response. So disgust is when symmetrically both sides of the upper lip are raised. There might be also wrinkles on the nose. And we see deep nostril indentations here on the side. So we don't know what he is disgusted about. It might be about the situation or the interviewer or what he's internally thinking about. Yeah, we can't know that. Now, random smile. He's not matching what the Prime Minister is doing. They have completely different facial expressions. So they seem to be rather random, reflecting his inner state.
Well, there's only one reason.
So now we see the extreme asymmetric smile, contempt, feeling superior. It's a half smile. So now only unilateral, the upper lip is raised on the right side or his left. It's a sign of disdain and arrogance. And we don't know what the contempt is about. He's talking now about Putin, so I personally don't think he gives anything about Putin. So it might be more about the interviewer and how dumb he is to ask a question like that. I'm guessing it's more about that. He has still the same frozen look, the signs of a liar.
We're having these discussions, and that is because Putin has illegally invaded Ukraine. And the quickest way to resolve this, obviously, lies through...
Frozen look, stare, low blinking rate. Seeing if the BS works.
What Putin actually does, because it's for him to know this. But we are having a discussion. We stood with Ukraine. Ukraine has a right to self-defense.
So the same lines, the same talking points again and again.
We stood united, not just with our allies here in the US, but
empty phrases.
with our NATO allies. That's very, very important to us. But today was about having a chance to talk, not just about a particular step.
So now he's starting again with the talking points about the strategy and no particular thing being discussed. He's repeating this again for the second time.
Tactic, but the strategy in relation to Ukraine. But also we cover the Middle East in some extent.
So this is basically a repetition of what he said a minute ago.
You have repeatedly said that you believe you do have to agree tactics to weaken Putin within months. Is that because of the deadline of the American presidential election and the risk of a President Trump victory?
No. I think if you look at both the Ukrainian situation and the Middle East, it is obvious that in the coming weeks and months there are really important potential developments, whatever timetables are going on in other countries, and that's why I wanted to have this opportunity to talk directly to the President at his invitation here about...
There's now more movement in his face, more facial expression when he talks about Trump and the upcoming meetings, so this is more spontaneous here, more believable.
Those decisions in the next few months, but to make sure that those decisions were, as it were, pitched in the wider strategic thing.
So now he's coming back to the wider strategic thing. So now he's going back to the lines he's given. He's always going in circles.
That we share in relation to Ukraine, the Middle East, and Indo-Pacific.
Prime Minister, what did you decide with regard to...
Well, we had a wide-ranging discussion about...
So he's starting again with a wide-ranging discussion about the strategy and no specific decisions being made. It's the second repetition, so the third time he's talking about that.
Strategy in Ukraine, of course, in the Middle East, and other parts of the world. This wasn't a meeting about a particular capability. That wasn't why we got our heads down today. It was to allow ourselves...
Again, a smirk, an asymmetric smile, contempt. In summary, we saw a lot of negative behaviorism. We saw anger from Biden. We saw him stuttering and his facial expression freezing. So that was a signature of his very low mental cognitive abilities. We saw a lot of fake smiles in the White House by Starmer, contempt, fear, insecurity, and so on. So in the White House, in the meeting, it looked more like a secretive meeting. The media was not wanted there. And here, during the interview at the end, we see a lot of disgust and contempt again. This is the main facial expressions we can see here. And a lot of repetition of talking points, which were apparently given to him. So these type of expressions and behaviorisms basically sum up the current state of Western democracies. No questions are wanted, no honest discussions. To see a picture book expression of disgust, here is Annalena Baerbock, Germany's foreign minister from the Green Party at the UN.
And yes, the Russian Federation, the ambassador who always leaves after he has spoken here, I've experienced that a couple of times. You can fool yourself. The strongest man of your country can hide behind teenager girls who he kidnapped. But you cannot fool the world. The strongest man of your country can hide behind teenager girls who he kidnapped.
This is absolutely ridiculous, embarrassing and intolerable. Hard to imagine anyone voted for her. All of this is not too surprising, depending where we are currently and with the US election coming up on 5th of November. So we expect a significant increase in distractions and escalations. In what a hurricane can't achieve, I'm sure the Middle East conflict can. So I hope you liked my analysis. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to your comments. And I talk to you next time. Bye.